Hello, everyone, and welcome to another WSI webinar. Now, just before we kick off, I just want to do a quick sound check to make sure we're coming through all right. So if you can just let us know in the question panel, maybe even let us know where you're joining today from, just so we can see who's coming from all across the world, that would be great. Awesome. So I'm seeing things coming through. Sounds like we're coming through loud and clear. Okay, so thank you for joining us for another WSI Digital Marketing webinar. This one is entitled, How to Make It Easier for Your Local Customers to Find You Online. My name is Cheryl Baldwin, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at the WSI head office, and I'll be your host today. Now, before we dive in, I do just want to go over a couple of housekeeping items. Common questions we get asked at every webinar. So yes, this webinar is being recorded, so don't worry, you will get a copy of this recording a little bit later today. We will also be sharing a copy of the slide deck with you as well, because that's a common question we get too. And as with all of our webinars, we will be doing a Q&A at the end of the session. So make sure you type those questions as they come up while our presenter is talking into the question box. And I know we have a lot to cover today, but we'll get to them as many as we can within the time we have with you. If at any time you experience any audio issues, just drop us a line in the question box as well, and we'll help you troubleshoot those. Now, just some quick info on WSI. We've been around for more than 25 years, and we've helped over 100,000 businesses with their digital marketing strategies. And our goal at WSI is to help businesses just really navigate this complex digital marketing landscape. And one of the ways we do this is through webinars like this that are designed to educate and share some best practices around a specific digital marketing topic. Now, as I mentioned, our session today will focus on the topic of local search and how you can improve your online visibility and be found by more of your local customers. Now, in case you aren't aware, local SEO is really the process of ranking in Google based on a searcher's current location. And it's quickly becoming one of the most qualified methods for local businesses to grow online. And that's because when someone is looking for a product or service similar to yours, they're going online to find it. And as a result, millions of consumers are searching for local services on Google every single day. And so in today's session, we'll be giving you some actionable takeaways that you can use to help you to get discovered by more of your customers in your area, stand out from your local competitors, and ultimately generate more leads and sales for your business. Now, joining us as our webinar presenter to talk more on this topic is Allison Lindeman, one of our very own WSI digital marketing consultants. And Allison joined the WSI Global Network back in 2004 and operates her WSI digital agency out of the Los Angeles area in California. She is one of our top performers within our network and has decades of experience working with businesses, not only on their digital marketing strategies, but traditional as well, and provides strategic direction on all aspects of digital marketing, but has a specific specialty and knowledge around search engine optimization. So she's a perfect presenter to have here today. She is also the author of our lead nurturing chapter in our third Digital Minds book. Now, I know she's really excited to share her expertise and some action steps with you today on local search. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to you, Allison, to take everyone through what we have here.
Hi, everybody. Just waiting to get to my next slide. So on the agenda today, again, as Cheryl introduced, is talking about local search, addressing strategies for businesses that are geographically or city focused, defining what it is, talking about some of the benefits of focusing on local search. We'll then go into just helping you understand what are the different areas on a Google search result page that you could potentially get your business listed in. And then we'll go over to the tips, the action items, the things that you can do in your business to get yourself listed in one of those precious spots on the first page. And then at the end, I think I'll turn it back over to Cheryl for some Q&A. So let's get started. I think we're going to do a quick poll because it would be really good for me to have an understanding of how you think your visibility is today to your local market online.
Yes, so I've just launched the poll. So everyone take a few moments, pick the option that best resonates with you. Great, we've got feedback coming in. I'm gonna give everyone about 5 more seconds to complete it. So I'll be closing it in 3, 2, 1. Okay, and now I'm gonna share the results so you guys can see this. So Allison, you can see this at your end, right?
So it looks like the masses are kind of in the middle. You have an idea online, you have some engagement, but of course it's probably never enough. And really that's a pretty small amount of people though saying that local search is a significant driver of their business. So that's something that we want to change today because we could do better than 14%. So thank you for the poll information. So just to be clear, let's quickly define local search. And I think Cheryl actually did a pretty good job of doing that. But simply stated, it's getting found online when somebody is doing a search for a product, a service, or even your business category in and for the market that you serve. So this isn't about competing against the entire world of someone who provides your product or service. You are trying to target your online presence to people who are going to be able to buy from you local. So next slide, please. And so we can't talk about this without sharing some data. There's a lot of research out there that supports the benefits of focusing on local search, a lot of it. So this is just a couple that stand out that I wanted to share with you. But almost half of all searches online are people looking for local information. That may be surprising to some of you, but it's just as many people are looking for a local result as they are, a generic result. And of those searches, half of them result in an in-store visit within 1 day. You don't have to be a physical presence store. You don't have to be a retail store. You can be just providing local services, but literally half of those do result in someone visiting a store within a day. And then near me searches. So these are the type of searches where someone's putting in, McDonald's near me. So they don't necessarily have to put in the name of their city, and Google understands they're looking for whatever is closest to them at the moment. So those type of searches have grown more than 900% over 2 years. So the facts are that there's a lot of visibility and viability to focusing on your local market and what you can do online digitally. So there's 4 main types of search results that you can see on a typical Google homepage for local. So I'm going to touch on those and then move into what the tips are. So here's a screenshot of a typical local search page. Hopefully you can see that because it's a pretty long page, so it's kind of hard to squeeze it on the screen, but you'll see by those dotted areas that there's a variety of information or businesses that are listed on a first page search result. So these are the types of things that we want to focus on, ways to get you in one or more of those local search areas. The first one, in no really particular order, other than I have a big passion for Google My Business, is the Maps page. So I'm guessing that most of you in doing searches have come across a Google map. It looks like a map. It's got pinpoints inside of the map, and it typically has a couple businesses, usually 3, that are listed underneath it and a place to click and go further down. But the vast majority of consumers are using this Google My Business Maps listing to find a local business. The thing that shocks me is that over half of these listings are not claimed by the owner. And so just a little tip, just because you haven't set up your Google My Business listing, which we're going to talk about, doesn't mean that you don't have a listing on Google right now. So when Google My Business was created, Google pulls listings from other sources, the yellow pages or other directories, and they populate this GMB for short. So many businesses have a listing even though you didn't create it. So without controlling that, you have no way to keep your business updated or to really do the things to help get this ranked on the first page. So that's the first one, Google My Business. The next one that we're going to talk about is local SEO or search engine optimization. Again, it is something that we specialize in here, but it is Google picking your website based on, I'll call it a score, as being valuable to what the searcher is looking for. And what that could mean is that, one, you're in the area in which they're searching. So your proximity, it could be that based on the product or service or the category that they're searching for, it makes sense for your business to show up. And then there's, I'll call it a quality score. So how good is your website? How relevant is the information? Things like that. And those type of things go together to pick a list of sites that are on the first page when someone does a search. So we're going to talk about that too. And then the paid search results. So I'm guessing most of you know that there are ways you can pay Google to buy your way sort of into a area of prominence on the search pages. So in this little screenshot that's on the monitor, you'll see I highlighted the word ad. So when you see ad, sometimes you see sponsored results. Those are advertisings where the business is paying Google to be there. A very viable option, something we're not going to go into as much detail in today, mostly because my opinion is it's not an area you want to run yourself. It's complicated. There's bidding involved. You're bidding on these different keywords. There's national competitors that can even enter in your local market and be bidding. So it's really better to have a professional run your paid advertising, but absolutely a viable option to get your business in front of people quickly. And then the fourth area on the Google search, like local results page, is called Google Guaranteed Listings. These have only been around the last couple of years. There's two, Google Guaranteed and Google Screened. And so I'll talk more about how you, if you qualify, how you can get yourself in a position to be in a guaranteed listing at the top of the page. So those are the four, again, main types. So when now we transition to talk about the action steps that you can take, they all tie back into getting yourself in one of those four positions on the Google search results page. So let's start with action number one. So making sure you have a mobile-friendly website, big deal. All of this is very focused around the mobile search. Most searches for local businesses are done on a mobile phone. Most searches in the world are done on a mobile phone. So you really have to, as a first step, look at your website and make sure that your site is set up to be displayed properly on mobile. On this slide, there's a free test you can do. So when you get the slide, you'll be able to use this, and it will tell you whether your site passes the Google test for mobile friendly. I can tell you if your site's more than 3 or 4 years old, not going to pass. So it is, that your website is formatted for mobile where it changes, it responds. That's why it's called responsive, and it adjusts to the size of the screen, whether it's a phone, an iPad, a laptop, a full screen monitor. So if you don't pass that test, my tip is to talk to your web developer, because to really implement a local strategy, you have to make sure that your website's mobile friendly. So that's action number one. Number two, biggie also, make sure that your business's address is on your website. So how is Google really going to know on a local search that you're a player in there if you don't show on your website that you have a local address? And so if you're just a single location business, the easiest way is to put it in the footer of your website. At the bottom of your page, usually there's a masthead at the bottom where you can list your address, your phone number, maybe how to contact you, maybe your social media links are there too. It's kind of your contact info. Put your address in text in there. Do not create a pretty little graphic and slap that in there because Google can't really read that. Put it as text on your site. Put it on your contact page. So those are two places you can have it. If you do have multiple locations, then it's better, like in this screenshot, to create a locations tab. So, and then have your different locations listed and include the addresses. Even better is if you actually have one page set up for each of the locations that you have on your website. So, and you'll be allowed to create a Google My Business listing and market to each of those unique separate locations. There's a more advanced tip I'll give you. It's called schema markup. I'm not going to go into tech talk right now, but it's an advanced technique that makes it easier for Google to find your physical address, your location, when someone's doing a search. It makes your search results stand out more. In fact, there's schema markup for all kinds of really helpful things that you could be found for on the first page of Google. So I would ask your person who handles your website about adding schema markup. They probably will know what it is, and it's really easy to do, and it will help your business. So that's action number 2, making sure that your physical address is on your site. So number 3 is my favorite, is a huge one, is creating that Google My Business listing that I talked about. So it is one of the easiest ways to get a physical presence, get a first page search result on a local business. And so there's a picture here on this slide that just showed you again what that looked like. And the fact is that you really only have 3 spots that are on the first page. There is a place to click for more, but our goal is to try to get you in one of those 3 spots. So a tip to get that done is making sure that you fully complete the profile that comes with this listing. And so we'll talk about creating this profile, claiming it if you already have a listing but you don't have control of it, making sure that everything that you can update is updated. It allows photos and videos. This is tied to reviews. Sometimes that gets people a little wigged out, but we'll talk about that too. It has other features that you can enable that could help you in operational efficiencies or reaching out real time to more clients or potential customers. We'll talk about that. And then even it has a social media aspect of it that's actually very important in getting you to rank, so we'll go over that. Okay, first is claiming your listing. This is the most painful part. Once you're past this, you're pretty home free, so bear with me. But the easiest way to see if you have a listing is to simply go to Google and do a search. So search for your business name, search for variations of your business name. If you have a listing, it's going to show up pretty easy if you put your complete business name. So in this example I'm showing you, it's got Next Gen HVAC and Plumbing. So, there's obviously a listing. At this point, we don't really know if you have ownership of it yet. And so that's why you want to click where I showed the red arrow, and I got to put on my glasses, but where it's got the Own This Business, that's what it says. So I highlighted that. So click on Own My Business, and that way you're going to see if you have control of this listing or not. So going to the next slide, please. Once you click on that, you're going to get 2 different things. If nobody has claimed that, you're going to be able to go through a process to take ownership of that listing. If somebody already has it, which could be someone in your office, it could be you and you may not know it, you're going to see this screen where it says Google gives you an ownership hint. So, and it says this profile has already been claimed. And so the tip or the hint that you have is that if you read this first sentence, the business profile has already been verified by ro.@gmail.com. So that means an email address that starts with the letter R and the letter O at Gmail is the owner. And so that usually, if it's you or someone in your office, that gives you a clue what email address might be associated with it. And then that way you can go through the process of claiming it. If you have no idea, whose email address that is, you're going to have to go through this account recovery process to try to get ownership of it. So why I show that lady not happy is because this is the oh crap part of this, is getting that initial ownership of it. But once you do, then everything's golden. So you just have to have a little patience. Maybe you'll see the email address right away, and it's someone it's the email address so you're good. So let's go to the next slide, please. So now verifying ownership. So let's say you're setting up a new one, okay, or it hasn't been claimed. You have to let Google know, it's mine, this is my business, I have a right to this listing, even if you create it from scratch, because, a competitor could put it on. A competitor could try to claim it, and mess it up. Or a competitor could try to set one up for you, or someone who you don't give permission to manage. And so what will happen when you're setting it up is Google will ask you how you want to verify your listing. It's going to be a text, a call, or a postcard. So literally you put in your phone number, it's going to send you a text with a code that you put in. I'm sure you've seen that before in claiming accounts online. It's going to ring your phone is another option. So when your listing it has your business phone number, if you're at your house doing it, it's going to ring your business phone. So you'd need to alert whoever's answering the phone at your business that a Google computer is going to call, it's going to give you a PIN, and you need that PIN number, right? Or these days, it seems like Google's sending a lot of postcards. That postcard is snail mail to your physical address. So it may take a week or 10 days. You need to alert whoever's receiving your mail not to throw that away. It's not a piece of junk. It's a PIN number that you need to verify this listing. So just those are tips for verifying ownership of the account. So now be relieved. You have access. You got through it. The person inviting you to this meeting could help you get through that process. But once you have control, you now need to enter your business information. So a big tip there is that you need to think about the naming conventions you use in this listing, because we'll talk about it. Part of validation online is that the way you name your business and even your address is being verified throughout the web. It's the same name. That must mean it's the same business. I've seen it mentioned 10 times. It must be legit, incredible. So if your business has a long name and an acronym and sometimes LLC or Inc., you need to pick what you want to be known as a business online and stick with that. So when you're creating this listing for the first time, think about the business name and the way you want it titled. Same with the address. Again, I'll talk about this also in a minute because all this stuff interconnects. But the way you write your address, if you do place versus drive, suite versus pound, you could be in a building or in a suite that has the same physical street number but a bunch of different suite numbers. You don't want to get your business confused with another business. So think about the way that you list this name in your address. Then the Google My Business account allows you to put a full business description. So you call it a meaty paragraph to actually describe your business. So being a local business, think about mentioning the cities in which you serve. Think about mentioning what services or products you provide or what business category you serve. So get those things in so Google understands who you are and what you do. The Google My Business is set up on a category basis. And so when you're setting up the profile, you can go back and change this later too. It's going to ask you for a primary category. It'll also give you up to 10 secondary categories. There's like literally 4,000 available, something like that. It's crazy. So take your time, look through the business categories and select those that most closely associate with the products and services that you offer. Let's say it's a plumber. So a plumber is going to pick plumbing or plumber as a main category, but maybe they do water heaters too. So obviously they pick water heaters and repiping or whatever they do as some of the other secondary categories. And then keep in mind when you're completing your Google My Business profile, completeness matters. It's part of the algorithm. The more information you put in, the more blanks you fill out, the better the chance you are of showing up on the first page. So even if you're fudging a little, even if there's a field that you're like, I don't have a lot on that, fill it out, and that's going to help you get visible. Okay, and also while you're completing it, it allows you to upload lots of photos and videos. Don't freak out. You don't have to do any professional video at this moment if you don't have one. And you don't have to run and get a photographer either. They want things that just help with trusting you. Take a picture of your storefront if you have a storefront, a picture inside of products, of meeting with a customer, anything that really showcases who you are and what you do. You can take it on your phone, but make sure you upload photos. Photos matter. On the video side, I know, some people might have about us type videos on their website, and maybe you take a snippet from that, or maybe that's what you put in there. Maybe you do a little video tour of your business. Maybe you talk for 30 seconds and as an intro and record it on your phone. Just get creative. Maybe you get a customer or two to give a testimonial. Those are all videos you can upload in this section. And studies do show absolutely that the more photos that you have in your Google My Business listing, the more your phone rings from that, the more people request directions to your business, and the more click-throughs to your website. So this is a key part of setting up your Google My Business listing. Then the other thing that is, manage reviews. Sorry, I got to talk about this first. So another maybe topic, people tend to be scared of reviews. That's what I find with our clients. They don't want to encourage reviews because they don't want some crazy person to give them a bad review. But we can't run from reviews. They're going to happen. They're going to be done whether you set up a listing or not. They're already on Yelp. They can still add a Google review off an unclaimed listing. So you've got to let the review process happen. And there's going to be an upcoming webinar we have just on the whole idea of customer reviews. So stay tuned for that. But they're very tied to Google My Business. That's one of the key ways you get on the first page is having reviews, obviously good reviews. But 70% of customers trust reviews as much as they do a personal recommendation. So a great business strategy for a local business is to work on having 10 or so good reviews because it's going to translate into leads. A Bright Local survey found that 90% of searchers who read your review also look at the business response. So most review platforms, including Google and Yelp, let you, the business owner, respond to that review. So we're going to all get crazed doing a review every now and then. It's part of business. Nope, there's no such thing as a perfect business. And some of them are unfounded, but you have the opportunity as a business owner to respond to that review in a professional manner. And this survey is saying, if I read your crappy review, I also read what you had to say about it, turning a wrong to a right, or maybe making it clear that that's not actually how you do business and you professionally respond to it. So the bottom line you have to understand is these reviews affect your rankings. You need to manage those reviews. Again, they're part of Google My Business, and those stars do show up on your listing. So making sure that you're managing them and responding to them is really important. The other thing is that the Google My Business account or profile has other features that are pretty cool that you can enable or disable depending on if they are fit for your business. So one of them is a chat feature. So literally it gives a dynamic way for people to engage with you online through your listing, something you might want to try out. Another biggie is that Google My Business has the ability to do posts, sort of like Facebook, a social component to it. And I We manage a lot of Google My Business listings here. Absolutely, our clients who do a little bit of management of this social component have higher rankings, and it is a way for them to beat out competition on the search results. Not a lot of businesses either know about it or are using the fact that you can do a quick post. So it's a viable strategy. It also allows you in that post area to put in a special offer, coupon type thing, to post about an event. You can post about your literal products. So you need to go in there and check it out. You can see on the right side of the slide, a post for this webinar that we're doing today that was put on Google My Business. Google My Business also has a good reporting platform. And so once you get this going, you're going to be able to go back and and manage, see how you're doing. It can tell you how many people directly went to your Google My Business, how many did it based on a category. It will tell, I'm not going to go into this right now, but you can see how many people found you on a straight Google search versus through your Google Maps. And so you can also see how many people called you, requested directions. So there's good insight and reporting on Google My Business. So we got through Google My Business. It's a big one. So the next tip is creating local-oriented content for your website. So again, if you're wanting to be found for your product or service plus your town, you need to make sure that you're talking about that on your website. So whether you're creating new content or you're going back and doing a review of your content, you want to make sure you have that content. And again, a little tip is that it's a battle. It's a balancing act, like I said, between wanting to have concise content and clean content like this screenshot that's here, and the fact that Google loves words on the page. And so, and wanting to have a bunch of good keywords and talking about what you do for your business and the different towns you serve. So yes, I would tell you that 1,000 words isn't that unrealistic, because that's what Google likes. You don't have to jam them at the top. When you work with your web developer to create your website or to update it, you keep it clean and simple and bullet points and things that people want to do that scan your site, but you should consider writing some meaty paragraphs that include the words that you believe people are searching for and your town names. But again, just write for your readers. That's the best suggestion I have. Don't write for search engines. Write content that people would benefit from. One of the biggest things is FAQs. There's a lot of benefits to having frequently asked questions on your most important pages. So that's one idea for how to come up with some of this content. There's lots of third-party sites out there. Quora.com is one of them, where you can put in a subject or a category and it'll spell out a whole bunch of ideas for creating content and questions that people ask that you can use in FAQs. So that's another tip. And finally, consider using a blog. So I'm talking about enabling a blog on your existing website and using that to post frequent content to help your users. So action number 4, creating content that is locally focused on your website. Action number 5. So this is creating, I'll call them business citations or directories online. Google My Business is really the creme de la creme of business citations. So a business citation is a mention of your business that includes what's called NAP, your name, your address, and your phone number. And that's what I talked about earlier when I was speaking about setting up your Google My Business. You need to make sure the name, address, and phone are consistent from your website to that Google My Business listing and also in these business citations. And so for Google to see that you're credible, like I mentioned earlier, it is saying, are there any other places out on the web where this business is mentioned? If there's nothing, are they new? Is this spam? Are they fly by night? So by having all of these listings online, it's a credibility, it's a validation that Google goes through to see that you're a legitimate business. If you have inconsistent listings, like I mentioned earlier, then they may go, oh, you're calling yourself one thing here and using an acronym or another word for your business. they're going to see that as two separate businesses, and all these citations or these listings aren't going to count. So you have to be consistent. On this slide, there's a free checker. So you can go to that link later and put in your business name, and it's going to show you all the citations or business listings that it finds on the web and how you're listed. So you'll be able to see on that checker whether you have any inconsistencies. After that, what's really important is to create new ones, more of them. And so these are some of the top popular business citations where you can set up a listing. Number one, you see there's Google. That's your Google My Business listing that we talked about. Facebook is Facebook, having a Facebook page where you put your address. Bing also has a maps listing similar to Google that you can set up. You probably know what Yelp is and you may hate them, but putting your obviously correct business information into all these directories are going to help you. So think running the check and checking your address, and then get your address nailed down, and then use those citations and set up more listings. Action number 6, optimizing for voice search. So again, we talked about that the vast majority of searches are from a phone. People are talking into their phone. Voice-activated search is what's happening. People are driving. They're using voice. You know, they're at the mall. They're using voice. And so it's one of the most common searches is for directions using voice. So obviously you want to show up in Google My Business when someone is looking for directions to your business. Most voice-activated searches are more specific than if you're just at your house or on your computer and typing a search into Google. When you're talking, you're asking questions, you're using phrases, they're longer. So that's why things like FAQs are really important on your website, because that might match to the type of question that someone is talking into a search engine. So triple check that you have these types of questions or types of long searches on your site, that you have your full address, your store hours, and all that, so that when people are doing voice-activated searches, you show up. This little slide is just showing you, even if you're not a person that uses voice-activated search, just go on your computer and try it. You don't have to only be on your phone and talk to, voice-activated. You can just, on a Google search, click on that little microphone, and then whatever you talk into it is going to show up as a search, and you'll see the search results. So play around with it. Action number 7, last one, getting Google guaranteed. So I show a screenshot again below. This is what I talked about at the beginning as one of the 4 areas. This is basically a validation badge that you have been screened by Google and verified. And so it will give people more confidence in using your products or services. It's very focused on the service industry. That's how it launched. You have to apply, and you go through a pretty in-depth certification. You have to show your licenses. They do a background check. They check your insurance. If you're a plumber or an HVAC company, they're doing a background check on anyone that's going to be walking into a home. And so once you get validated, you rotate on the very top of a search result, local search result for your services. So it's a prime real estate for those who qualify and pass their background checks. Once you're approved, you can also set up an advertising component. So versus pay-per-click that we talked about earlier, this one is a pay-per-call. So you can put in a modest budget, and if you want to advertise in that top section, Google will charge you when someone actually makes a phone call. So you know when you're paying, you're getting a call. So this is a really good lead generation option. Again, it's mostly available for the home services. There's also a sister qualification called Google Screened. So there's Google Guaranteed and Google Screened. You can show the next slide. And the Google Screened is more focused on, right now, financial planning, taxes, and law, because they're not going to get they're not going to get a financial backing. They're going to just be screened as they went through the validation process. a Google guarantee. So if you're like appliance repair, carpentry, home services, these ones that are listed here, they actually will financially back you when you get guaranteed. So in the US, it's $2,000. So if somebody is unhappy with your service and you're a Google guaranteed business, Google is saying, I will reimburse you, consumer, up to $2,000 if you had a problem. They give you the first opportunity to work out that problem with your customer, but Google's saying, I will back you up as a business and I will reimburse you up to a certain amount if you have a problem. So it's another reason why, if your business is in one of these industries, you should consider applying for Google guarantees. Next slide. Okay, so now in summary, the 7 things that you can take action on now. Making sure, number 1, you've got a mobile-friendly website. Run the test, see how it results, talk to your web person who's handling your website. Add your address as text on your website, complete address, correct naming conventions. Create that Google My Business listing. Check to see if yours has been claimed. If not, create a new one, fill it out completely. Make sure your content on your website is talking about not only your services and products, but the locations in which you serve. Create and update those business listings, those business citations, the yellow pages, Yelp, the maps listings. Make sure that you have a consistent name, address, and phone number on those business listings. Then optimize your site for voice search, add FAQs, talk about long-term phrases, and then look and see if your business qualifies to get Google guaranteed or Google screened so that you can have first page visibility for your business categories. The other thing is that we have a little tool for you. So I believe Cheryl's going to be sharing it on this presentation, and you can download a self-assessment tool just to get started, just to have a checklist, just to see where you're doing on some of these areas. We also have a full local search audit. So you could contact the person that invited you to this meeting, your WSI consultant, and they could take you through a more detailed local search audit to go through step by step how you're doing in each of these areas. So think local, think digital, and work on these things to get yourself visible in the local search market.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Allison. So much great information there. And I hope we are going to get to Q&A. We've got some questions, a lot on GMB actually. And so hopefully if you can stick around, we're going to go over a little bit just today, just so we can get to some of these questions. But before we get in there, as Allison mentioned, if you have any questions on anything that was discussed today, reach out to your WSI consultant that referred you to this webinar. They can definitely walk you through that. The self-assessment kind of checklist that Allison mentioned is actually uploaded as a handout in this webinar. So just in the panel under handouts, it's right there and you can download it. But we also have, like she mentioned, a more in-depth local search audit that a WSI consultant could take you through. So you could connect with them on that. And if you don't have a WSI consultant, reach out to contact@wsiworld.com and we'll put you in touch with someone. Okay, moving over to Q&A. So I'm going to start because a lot of our first questions were just on GMB. And one of the things you talked about was the verification process, Allison. And we actually have a question from someone who right now is struggling with the postcard verification process, with actually getting the postcard. And so have you ever experienced that with your clients where, you know, there's delays on getting this element of verification, and can they use one of the other ones just to, you know, quicken the process, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, that is a tough one. Many times Google gives you an option. I'm guessing with this person that maybe they didn't have an option, because there are times where Google initiates triggering the postcard and it does not give you that option. Yeah. I can tell you that at times that postcard gets backed up. So I don't know for this individual, they might want to talk to their consultant about it, but what they're thinking is a delay. It can be several weeks. It can be some of it's having patience and waiting out that postcard. You can trigger another postcard. We've had to do that with people before, and so we don't know what happened to the postcard. Somebody threw it away, like I said, or thought it was junk. So if several weeks go by, you probably need to trigger another postcard, but it's the unfortunate part. Things go smoothly. Usually you can do a phone call or a text, but there are times, I think during COVID, there's more postcards being generated. So I know you have to have a little patience and you might have to re-trigger that postcard.
Yeah. And Allison, we definitely got this question. We talked about it. We knew it might be a question around someone that might be more of a digital business, or maybe a business that doesn't have a physical location that someone would visit, right? Like think about a consultant, or even like, you know, where you wouldn't go to their location to get a service, like a plumber, they're coming to you, right? How do you handle instances like that where maybe the physical address isn't there to showcase? I know Google My Business has a service area element to it. So how would you talk to your clients about that?
So you have a couple options. One of them would be, I'm getting feedback.
I'll mute while you talk.
Okay, thank you. Is not showing an address. On Google My Business in the listing, there, when you have control of it, it will say, do you want to display or do you see customers, I believe, at this address? And you have the option to turn it off. So even though you've put a physical address, might be your home address or where you work, even if you don't see clients there, you can disable it so that that full address doesn't show on your Google My Business listing, because you really still need to have a physical location stated, or how will Google know how to judge where you're located versus where the searcher is? So you have to have something, but you could choose not to display it. You know, and as far as your website, same kind of thing. I mean, at least put your city, you know, your city, your province, your towns, you know, whatever it is to identify you. Even if you don't have a physical address, still, as much as you can without feeling that your privacy is invaded, put that address. And then again, in the back end of Google My Business, you can say suppress it from displaying.
Awesome. Someone asked specifically, can you assign more than one person to have access to your Google My Business listing?
That's a really good question. Yes. So you are giving permission. Somebody owns it. We talked about ownership. Once you own it, you can go into like a user section and you can give permissions to others to have access. You can also decide the level of access. So, and that means in terms of, can they add other users? Can they change information versus viewing? So you can go in and you can make yourself an owner, and you could make someone else a manager, or you could have two owners. You know, and remember, like someone that owns it can take it down and do things like that. So you'd want to be careful, you know, who you're making an owner.
Great. And the insights that you talked about for Google My Business, where do they find that exactly?
Okay, so when you'll be able to log into it. Then on the left side, there's a lot of options, but most of them are adding information. Change my store hours, do my business description, add my photos. But you'll have a section there called Insights that you'll click on, and all these reports will automatically populate for you. You can also set it up to email you insight reports so you get them.
Great. I know you mentioned reviews, and we will be, just so everyone knows, our next webinar is on reviews. So we'll deep diving on this topic, but maybe just quickly, if someone does leave a review, generally what is best practice on replying, like timeline wise, like what is acceptable?
Did you say timeline wise?
Yeah, like once someone reviews, how long would you take or should you take to reply to it?
You should answer reviews as soon as you possibly can. I mean, it shows you care, the sense of urgency. If a person's upset, especially, you can say things like, I'm going to contact you, privately to work this out. And so much, I'm so sorry. The words that most people can't say in life, I'm sorry. When someone reviews all those, they have a good sentiment about you. We aren't perfect and you care, but the faster, it's like anything else in a relationship, this is an online relationship, the faster you respond to those, you're not going to get 1 million a day most likely. You just need to be aware when someone does post one so that you answer in a timely manner. Even if you say you're going to get back to them directly to answer their questions or give them a call within the next day, but put something, respond quickly to reviews.
Awesome. And maybe just to kind of a last few questions, actually. One is around Google Guarantee. And we know that it's not available everywhere. So if something like that isn't available, or say I have a question here, actually, someone works at a bank, and if you don't want to actually get active leads, like maybe you just have general products and services that you're trying to showcase, is it Google Guarantee something you should be looking into? And if it isn't available in your area, what's an alternative?
Yeah, so I mean, right now I don't believe get Google Guaranteed, but so I mean, if you don't have it available to you, for one, your competitors aren't going to show up there. So you're simply going to be focused on those 3 other areas of the Google search result. It's just getting guaranteed. I can't do it. We can't do it either. That doesn't mean that I don't have a lot of visibility on page 1 when someone's searching for me. Again, the primary focus of the guaranteed part was for service professionals and businesses that are sending people out to like your home or your business to make people feel like you're certified and your backgrounds are checked and things like that. So, I mean, when you go to that Google Guaranteed page to apply, wherever you are, you'll see right away. When you go to that page, it'll say, what zip code are you in? And then what industry are you? It just takes you 2 seconds, and you'll know immediately if you don't qualify. It'll say not available in your area, and then you're obviously working on some of these other things that we're talking about because that's not something that's available to you.
Awesome. And just to round out, obviously we talked a little bit about insights on Google My Business, but if you're doing all this stuff and applying some of the action steps you recommended, what are some of the key metrics maybe that you can point to people that they should be paying attention to just to see that their efforts are working in this area?
Yeah, so both sites also have Google Analytics on it. It's not really the topic of discussion today, but it's, Google has a reporting platform and analytics that tells you how your site's performing in many, many ways. So you need to make sure that you have that installed on your site. But the things you'd want to know, just like a national business is, are people coming? Are they coming to your website? In what volumes? From what sources are they coming? With, again, Google My Business, it's looking at, did people request directions and did they call you? But also look at the visitors that are coming to your site. There's a report that shows where are they coming from. So if I'm Los Angeles and all I can serve is the Los Angeles market, which of course is huge, so I'm good. But if my analytics tell me that they're in all other places and I'm a local business, then who cares that I have 1,000 people coming to my site? That means the wrong people are potentially getting your website. So I would say focus on reports that show you the geographic and make sure that your local strategy isn't aligned with the people that are coming to your site. You can also look at things like the top pages. So if you have certain services that you're focused on, the report can tell you, are people going to those pages? If your best services don't have the traffic, then you got to look at those pages, things like that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Allison. That's all the time we do have for Q&A. I appreciate people sticking around as well as yourself just to handle some of those. But if we didn't get to your question or something pops up afterwards as you're going through those action steps, make sure you reach out to your WSI consultant. They can get those answered for you. Also, if you want to learn any more about just digital marketing in general, just a reminder that WSI does have a book on digital marketing available on Amazon called Digital Minds, a strategic approach to connecting with your customers and engaging with them online. So check that out. Again, I just want to give a big thanks to Allison for joining us today and sharing your infinite amount of wisdom. So we really appreciate that. Thank you to everyone for attending and taking time out of your schedules to be here. Again, our next webinar will be May 26th. And it is, as we mentioned, going to be on reviews. So reviews to revenue, how to grow your business with online reputation management. So until then, thanks, have a great day, and I hope we see you on a future WSI webinar. Bye for now.